Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Fleming, the reluctant shrink, and welcome to Half-Assed.
Here in Half-Assed, we believe in asking the better questions.
Today, we're going to talk about the truth in a marriage that no one is really talking about. Namely, that you want out of your marriage at about year 2.
Whoa, year 2? What happened to the 7-year itch?
Well, basically what happened is it started breaking down and you wanted to scratch it way before you realized it at year 7, okay? Year 2 is where all of a sudden the bubbles above your head that you're not talking about start bursting, and it starts getting real fast.
Well, with over 50% of marriages in this country breaking down at around year 2, how do we help people avoid the starter marriage? What are the better questions that we can all ask of our marriages, whether we're at year 2 or year 25, but most importantly, when it's starting to fall apart at year 2?
Absolutely. The first question, do I want to be right with my partner, or do I really want happiness?
Okay. Now that to me is a huge issue right there, because I would think that everybody would want to be happy.
Absolutely, but happiness is in the waiting room of happiness. I'm not sure who exactly said that quote, but I really like that. This is something you get as a byproduct of living authentically. Well, when you live authentically, you don't seek to be right, you seek to be effective. And I think many marriage couples, especially in times of stress, forget this, and they end up really trying to win the battles versus being really happy.
The battle of the toothpaste cap, the battle of the dishwasher, the battle of socks on the floor,
That's right.
And all those things create irritations versus taking the marriage to a higher level.
That's right. Yes, and it does build to other things that we're not saying that are more irritants, than the socks and such. But these are the insidious things that just aren't said, that are deeper in the relationship.
So the first question is, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? Questions 2 and 3.
The second question that is really critical in marriage that I think most counselors don't talk about is, do I love myself loving the other person, or am I really in touch with the beloved, my partner? Is it really true, authentic love, or am I really wrapped up in myself doing the loving of the other person?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but let's break it down.
Yeah.
That's a pretty complicated concept.
Sure.
So do I love myself, loving that person, or do I love them? What does that actually mean in terms of like daily applicable behaviors? How do we interpret that?
Awesome question. What that really means practically is when you give, especially in this idea of love, it should be freely, which means you drop the agendas, you drop the control, you drop the implications of what you actually want your partner to do. We see a lot of biscuits being left in front of your partner a lot, right? When you really love them, those things disappear and you simply accept the response you get from your partner regardless.
So you're giving without expecting anything in return.
Yeah, giving with the idea of pure love of that. Because I think some people give in tolerance when they don't get back what they really wanted. They're somewhat decent to them. They're not mad, but their true love is joyfulness, even in both, whether you get a slap in the face or the actual follow-through.
Okay, so it's without the manipulation,
Exactly.
Knowing what it is you want that person to do.
Bingo.
Okay, and question number 3.
The third question that I think is most critical in transforming marriages is a whopper. What do I fear? If each partner could really ask that, you probably would get yourself out of the way of the marriage. See, what ends up happening is we end up working on ourselves so much so that the marriage dies. We get lost in our own inadequacies, anxieties. Really, this umbrella of fear sort of is a shell around us that breaks down the love and the spontaneity in the marriage.
So it changes actually the way that we interact. So
Bingo.
instead of knowing that there's safety, there's security, there's comfort, all the things that are the opposite of fear, because our fears are so strong, they take over and they bring about almost in a self-fulfilling prophecy sort of way.
Exactly. And if you could only look to your partner, if you could only look to your partners and the beginning start with the ending, and literally put that ending of the relationship on the table and say, we may divorce. We may not be together. What would that mean?
Okay.
Could I live without you? Could I exist? Probably, but what do I miss in that choice?
So you're really telling everyone out there to embrace the idea of opening Pandora's box.
Pretty much. In year 2, as we started talking about here today, is really when it starts, whether you want it or not, the reality of that starts pushing itself out into your marriage.
Okay.
And whether you admit it or not, it has to get on the table.
So instead of following the myth of happily ever after, seeing the way that we've all been told in movies and romance novels, to really create the happily ever after, starts with 3 questions. And they are, again,
yes. Do I want to be right, or do I want to be happy? I think that's a really critical thing. Do I love myself loving the other, or am I really loving the beloved with no attachments of ideas and expectations? And the last being, what do I fear in this relationship? And really, if you can get that on the table, you're on your way.
Those are 3 fabulous questions. We hope you'll join us for a wonderful online blog discussion and our call-in show. We look forward to seeing you online at halfass.com.